We are in Psalm 10, actually. We crossed over from 9 to 10 yesterday. And so I want to invite you to join me there, and thanks for taking a few moments to open God's Word together. Psalm 9 and 10 go together. David's in trouble. He needs God. He wants God. He longs to see God intervene and bring judgment and justice on the planet, really, among the nations. He's tired of seeing nations fight God and seem to be winning. And wherever you see injustice on the planet, wherever you wish for salvation and equity and justice to arise, this psalm, these two psalms fit. Okay, this is the prayer and cry of our hearts. Well, by the end of chapter 9 and now into chapter 10, David is experiencing a kind of a tension between his faith and his feelings, his faith and his experience. He believes that God is a just judge and that God's going to deal with things, but he also feels and experiences God in a distant, far-off way, as though he doesn't care or as though he's uninvolved. Now, he knows he's not uninvolved. That's why he's bringing it to God. And one of the great takeaways of these two Psalms is simply the practice of differentiating my feelings and my faith, not basing my faith on my feelings, that even when God seems far away, he's not. And the answer is not to grow despairing or depressed and, oh, well, God's not listening to me. No, the real answer is to go to God, to come to him, and to accept by faith that he is there, even though I can't feel him or sense him or in some experiential way or sensory way have the experience of him. You see, faith is not an experience. It's a decision. It's a confidence that's grounded deep in the facts and the truth of who God is. Sometimes my feelings will align or my experiences will align, but sometimes my experiences will not align with my faith. And I'll wonder, okay, if I believe this, why isn't it manifesting itself in this experience? Well, that would not require faith. If all of my experiences aligned perfectly with the expectation of my faith, always right on time, then it would be by sight. Everything would be by sight. There would be valid proof, experiential evidence. And so faith is faith in the absence of the experience, okay? That's when faith holds, all right? That's when it's truly faith. So David, by faith, is going to God. He knows God is near, but he's expressing, I feel like you're afar off. Why standest thou afar off, O Lord? Why hidest thou thyself in times of trouble? Now look at verses 2 through 6. David is going to profile his view of what's happening with his enemies or with wickedness. And it's kind of a complaint, but it's kind of our experience as well. Sometimes we think, well, those that are seeking God should be flourishing the most in a visible, tangible way or a material way. And so often it's those who are seeking the Lord who are not materially successful or flourishing materially. But then you look at the wicked and they seem to be thriving. They just seem to be doing incredibly well. And that's kind of what David's going to say here. The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. Lord, make this right. They're taking advantage of people. For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth. They're proud, they're boastful, they're arrogant. They reward each other. They reward selfishness and ego, things that God hates. Verse 4, the wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. That's a convicting thought, that in some sense God's definition of wickedness is that God is not in all of his thoughts or any of his thoughts. So the wicked has no thought of God, flagrant in pride and arrogance and a haughty countenance, a posture of we don't need God, flippant, scoffing, scornful towards God. Verse 5, his ways are always grievous. I mean, there's no genuine goodness in any of it, okay? Everything's grievous. Everything's twisted. Everything's perverted. Thy judgments are far above, out of his sight. As for all his, they don't care what you think, God. They have no grasp of your view of things, your perspective. It's totally out of their sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. Seems like the wicked are overcoming their enemies with ease. Seems like they're not even dismayed at all by them. Verse 6, he hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved. The presumption, the arrogance. I'm fixed. This is permanent. I'm good. I'm well taken care of. My future is secure. That's what they seem to say. He has said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. This is verses 2 through 6 are a perfect picture of somebody that is materially successful and well cared for and seemingly secure, and therefore has a sense of no need of God. In fact, nothing can sink me. I'm absolutely secure. Nothing can come against me. I'm locked into this life, and I have need of nothing. I'm a self-made man. I shall never see adversity. Look at verse 7. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. He sitteth in the lurking places of the village. In the secret places doth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily or privately set against the poor. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. He croucheth and he humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones. He hath said in his heart, God hath forgotten. He hideth his face, he will never see it. So you get the idea of why David is longing for God to intervene. This is a creative, descriptive picture, a metaphorical picture of what we see on planet Earth every day. Selfish power holders that seemingly on a single decision or a single economic decision or a single political or legal decision can move entire populations, entire nations in different directions. And these people are flagrant and arrogant, and they're sitting on top of the world, and they have forgotten God. They don't believe in him. They have scorned him, and they think they've won. And David knows they haven't won. God is still God. God's a righteous judge. He profiled that in chapter 9. Do you see the flow of the psalm? God, I know who you are. I don't feel you or see you or sense you, but look around, God. Do you see what I see? Are you aware of what's happening, Lord? All around, all over the planet, the wicked are oppressing the poor, and it's happening. God, do you see it? God, why are you sitting? Why are you afar off? Why have you removed yourself from it? Now, David is framing his faith, but he's pouring out his concerns to God, and this is a great lesson for us. The takeaway, I think the big takeaway, is don't lose hope. Keep waiting on the Lord. Keep doing in your sphere justice and good, but know that even though you feel you may be making no difference, God is still God, and he does see. He does see exactly what's going on planet Earth, and he knows, and he will intervene. He is a good and a right and a just judge. And maybe one of the more personal takeaways would be that he's placed us here as his hands and his feet and his voice and his light and his salt for the short term, for the time being, and maybe you could relieve someone's pain. Maybe you could relieve someone's affliction today. Maybe you could bless them by being his hands and his gospel good news to their hearts. I plan to do that. I hope you will too. Have a great Friday. Join us on Sunday, and if not, we'll see you Monday.